Volunteer Training Presentation. Title: Setting Boundaries as a Volunteer. General version. Original presenter: Diane Taylor. Presented by Chuan Tak Kang, Yang Xun Da, 15 July 2016. Importance of boundary setting as a volunteer. Why is it important to set boundaries? What can occur if we don't set appropriate boundaries? Can you give examples? What are some of the challenges you have experienced or seen others experience in setting boundaries? When and how to set boundaries as a volunteer? Consider the situations described. Do you need to set a boundary? And if so, what are the guidelines for how to respond in this situation? Do you need to set a boundary? 1. You visit an elderly person in their home every month, and they share details of their family with you. Then they ask you about your family. Should you share details? If so, are there some things you shouldn't share? Questions for discussion 2 and 3. 2. Your elderly client asked you to change a light bulb in their bathroom. He has the light bulb ready for you and chair to stand on. The room has no windows and is completely dark when the light isn't working. What do you do? 3. You are a volunteer visitor in a nursing home and have some concerns about how the person you're visiting is being looked after. Sometimes the staff seems slow to respond, and your client complains that they don't provide things she asks for. You also notice another resident is often not fed at the usual meal times and can see the person losing weight. Who should you share your concerns with? Who should you not share your concerns with? Questions for discussion 4 to 7. 4. In situation 3 above, the resident you are visiting complains that the staff are hitting her and pushing her around. She shows you bruises on her arms and legs. Are you obliged to report this? Who would you report it to? 5. You are volunteer working with clients. To build their confidence, you share stories about overcoming your own personal struggles. Is this okay? 6. You are going through a difficult divorce, and some of your clients have been through a similar experience, so you exchange stories about this as well. Some clients are very sympathetic listeners and give helpful advice. Is this okay? 7. You are working a team with other volunteers, and one of them asks what football team you support. You have been told not to share personal details. Should you tell them? Questions for discussion 8 to 12. 8. After a year working with a client as a volunteer, you are given a $25 box of chocolates as a Christmas gift. Should you accept it? 9. The same client's family invites you to her 80th birthday party at her son's home. Should you go? 10. You are working as a volunteer receptionist when a client leaves a small box in the counter indicating it's for you. You open the box to find an expensive piece of jewelry. You are from a culture where refusing to accept gifts is seen as a massive insult, and so is the person who gave you the gift. 11. In a school situation, some children want to hug you. How should you respond? 12. Your client always greets you with a kiss on which cheek, as this is part of their culture. They are opposite gender to you. How should you respond? Does it change if they are the same gender? Questions for discussion 13 to 15. 13. How should you show concern and comfort for a client who is crying? 14. You volunteer to assist people with makeup and presentation skills so they can get employment, and often recommend a brand of makeup that is very good value and works well. Is this okay? Does it change if you have a home business selling that brand of makeup and you offer to provide it for them? 15. In conversation with a client, they mention that their car needs repair and they can't afford it. You know of a mechanic that is reasonably priced and recommend them. Is that okay? What if the mechanic is your brother? Comment. Do you have other situations where you are not sure of the boundaries? Share them with the group so we can discuss how best to respond. 10 ways you can say no without the guilt. Adapted from an article by Elena Worley. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You are asked to do something you don't really want to do or have time for, but you would feel guilty if you say no. Whether it's a church fundraiser, a committee at your child's school, or participating in a project, it's important to learn to say no if you don't want to get overwhelmed, stressed, or resentful. It's about self-protection. People who are able to say no have more free time, energy, and feel more in control of their lives. In volunteering, where partnerships or teamwork is essential, learning to say no doesn't mean you become uncooperative. Rather, it is recognizing your limits and being selective in what you choose to do. That you don't want to do a sloppy job by overwhelming yourself. That you value your time and priorities and aren't willing to take away from the truly important things in your life. A little selfishness is necessary if you want to sustain and maintain a balanced life. Ten ways you can say no without the guilt. So, how can you say no diplomatically and without guilt? If you do it properly, you don't actually have to use the word no. 1. Express your wish to help. I'd like to do that for you, but I'm not taking on new projects at the moment. 2. Give an explanation. I have a doctor's appointment, or I have another commitment. You don't have to get personal. 3. Offer an alternative. I won't be able to do it, but I can show you how to do it. 4. Find someone else who can do the task. I think Sally would be better for the job, and I know she loves to do those kinds of tasks. 5. Admit your limitations. I don't have experience in that, so I can't help you, or I'm not comfortable with that. 6. Offer to do it later. I can't help you now, but I can do it next week. 7. Offer to do a part. I'd be happy to do this part for you. 8. Ask for the priority. I'm in the middle of several projects. Which one would you like me to set aside to do this? Ten ways you can say no without the guilt. 9. Give yourself time to think about it. Can I get back to you? I'll have to check my schedule. Or I've had a few things come up and need to deal with those first. However, I find the tenth and most simple way to say no is to smile and say, "No, but thanks for asking," without launching into the why. People aren't really interested in your busyness. They are too busy contending with too much busyness of their own. So take the time to evaluate and come to terms with your limits. What you are able to do, what you are willing to do, and what you want to do. After that, give yourself permission to say no without guilt and find more time and joy to do the things you really want to. And an 11th way for volunteers. When you first meet with a client, you discuss what you can and can't do for them, making sure they understand and agree. You may need to put it in writing in some situations. This means that boundaries have been agreed in advance. This means awkward situations are less likely to arise, and if something comes up where you need to say no, you can remind them of this conversation, discussion, and activity. How does this article help you set boundaries as a volunteer? Pick 1 to 2 situations and write out a script for how you would say no. Practice it with the person sitting next to you and give each other feedback. What is a boundary? Boundaries define what we are and are not responsible for. You are responsible for your feelings, your needs, your behaviors, and their consequences, living according to your values, using and developing your talents, your thoughts and desires, giving and receiving love, setting limits on others and yourself so that they take responsibility for all the above for themselves. You are not responsible for other people's feelings, behaviors, values, limits, talents, thoughts, desires, etc. The 4 types of boundary problems. Type 1. The compliant doesn't set boundaries, feels guilty and or controlled by others. Say yes, but then resents it. Take on others' responsibility. Become overcommitted. Allows others to behave inappropriately to them. Are taken for granted. Not valued or respected. Type 2. The controller doesn't respect others' boundaries, don't accept responsibility for own behavior, wants others to change, not themselves. Aggressive controllers don't listen to other people's boundaries, can be physically or verbally abusive. What is a boundary? Manipulative controllers try to persuade others you're scared, tell you're selfish, do things for others, expecting favor to be returned. More subtle may believe they have good motives. Type 3. The non-responsive. Don't hear the needs of others. Don't accept their responsibility to care for others, especially those closest to them. Can be so self-absorbed that they don't notice others' needs or ignore the needs of others, critical of neediness. Type 4. The avoidant. Set boundaries against receiving care of others, inability to ask for help, recognize own needs, withdraw when in need, can be combined with compliance. So give help readily to others but don't ask for support or feel guilty accepting help from others. What is a boundary? Common boundary misconceptions. If I set boundaries, I'm being selfish. Appropriate boundaries actually increase our ability to care for others. Setting boundaries gives others the opportunity to learn and grow by taking responsibility for their own behavior and consequences. It allows us to meet our own needs and develop our talents so we can truly serve others. Setting boundaries involves saying no to that which would be detrimental to us, but saying yes to that which is beneficial. If I begin setting boundaries, I will hurt others and or be hurt by them if they no longer accept me. Setting boundaries is hard at first. People who are accustomed to controlling you will be upset and try to make you feel guilty or force you to do their will. However, if you stay firm, they will make to choose either to respect your boundaries and take responsibility for their own behavior, thus growing as a person and improving your relationship, or they will move away from you and find someone else to control. If this is the case, they probably didn't really care about you in the first place. However, it is advisable to start setting boundaries in small ways and to ensure you have a circle of close and supportive people who will stand by you even if you lost some other relationships. What is a boundary? How to establish boundaries? 1. Identify what's happening. Where are you taking responsibility for others or allowing them to control you? 2. Identify the need that drives the boundary problem. Both you and the person you are having a boundary problem, you are behaving in this way because you are trying to get your needs met, such as love, acceptance, respect, admiration, etc. What are these needs? Look at this especially for yourself. 3. Get your underlying need met in other ways. Reach out to supportive friends and family. Be honest about your needs and ask for help. 4. Start with small steps by setting boundaries with people who will support you and understand. At the same time, avoid people who have been controlling or manipulative towards you in the past. 5. Forgive those who have hurt you. If you don't forgive, you are still wanting something from the person, such as for them to say sorry or to be punished, that they can choose not to give. In this way, they are still controlling you. When you forgive, you are truly free. 6. Respond. Don't react. If someone can cause you to react to them by behaving in ways you don't want to, then they are controlling you. When you respond, you are in control, with options and choices. If you find yourself reacting, then step away and regain control of yourself, so people can't force you to do or say something that violates your boundaries. 7. Learn to relate to others in freedom and responsibility, not fear or guilt. Do good for others because you choose to do so, and enjoy the freedom of loving giving that builds strong, sustainable, and mutually supportive relationships. What to say? First, you need to make the other person aware of the effect their behavior or words are having on you. Don't expect them to mind read. You need to tell them clearly and without blame. There is a simple formula to help us do this. It is when you describe specific behavior or words, such as call me XXX or turn away when I am speaking. I feel describe the specific feeling you experience, such as hurt, disrespected, like you don't value me. I want describe specific behavior you want from that person, such as you to stop saying that or look at me when I am speaking to you. And finally, you set the boundary. There are basically 3 parts to a boundary. The first 2 are setting the boundary. The third is what we will do to defend that boundary. If you a description of the behavior we find unacceptable, again being as descriptive as possible. I will a description of what action you will take to protect and take care of yourself in the event the other person violates the boundary, such as walking away or stopping the conversation. If you continue this behavior, a description of what steps you will take to protect the boundary that you have set. This might be ending the relationship or taking a break for a period of time. Remember, don't say you will do something if you are not prepared to follow through. Think about what to say ahead of time so you are responding, not reacting. Sources: Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend, 1992, Grand Rapids, Michigan, John Dewan. Discussion questions. Have you experienced people with the various types of boundary problems? No names, please. Practice using the formula for what to say for 1 to 2 of these situations. As before, try it with your neighbor and give each other feedback. The Drama Triangle 1. Clients who are experiencing relationship difficulties and or conflict at work or at home are frequently stuck in this repetitious dynamic, and they are totally unaware of how corrosive it is to their emotional health and their relationships. They tend to take up one of three positions: victim or long-suffering martyr. Victims, also known as long-suffering martyrs, are usually feeling helpless, hopeless, and powerless, and in need have help. Their position is that someone else is to blame for their unhappy situation, and they are blameless. One of the easiest ways to spot when someone is in this position is from their tone of voice. I will tend to have a whiny edge to it, and the underlying message is either poor me, or after all I did for, or I did nothing to create this situation and I am helpless to change it. The victim carries beliefs about themselves as being a target for other hostility and rejection. They believe others are against them and responsible for their pain. They see their life in hopeless and helpless ways, with obstacles at every corner, preventing them from having what they really want. The victim expresses their helplessness to elicit caretaking. They do this by guilt-tripping, acting hopeless, blaming, sabotaging success, afraid to take action, self-deprecating statements, emotionally, and looking to others for direction. The Drama Triangle 2. They are self-absorbed and wants others to feel the way they do. For example, if their partner feels happy and satisfied, this can be experienced as a slight to their feelings. After all, can't you see I am hurting over here? They find it difficult to tolerate rejection or criticism. The victim feels afraid to take responsibility for themselves and often mistakes responsibility for blame or rejection. Taking care of oneself means that they will not be cared for, and they obtain this care by manipulating it through being helpless and hurt. Being self-sufficient means being alone and disconnected, resenting others for not responding immediately when they need them. Taking care of themselves is seen as a burden. The victim has developed this view from either being a target as a child or learning through wounded adults to manipulate others. They view relationships as providing them with the safe haven that they crave. The consequence is to put pressure on others to do the impossible and make up for everyone who has let them down. People who take up the victim position need to have a persecutor and a rescuer to help them. The drama triangle 3. Persecutors. Persecutors are always putting other people down. It's all their fault for being so inadequate, stupid, or otherwise not up to scratch. The persecutor blames, discounts, criticizes, and accuses the victim and believes all their problems are due to the personality flaws of the victim. The persecutor also sees him herself as blameless. Persecutor villains always have control issues and believe that things wouldn't get done properly if they didn't do it themselves. The persecutor is a position that develops out of the victim and rescuer. For someone who maintains this position in relation to others has likely been the victim of extreme control or chaos and has learned to protect themselves by attempting to control others. So feelings of worthlessness and vulnerability are buried deeply beneath a fear of losing control. Their self-worth is tied to being right and being superior. They attack to protect themselves from being attacked. They maintain their sense of self-worth by perceiving others in an inferior position. The persecutor uses various methods to maintain control, including contempt, dismissing, attacking, verbally and physically, humiliating, blaming, raging, self-righteousness, bullying, sarcasm, stonewalling, and withholding. The drama triangle 4. In extreme situations, violence and rage are used to control others. They deal with their own pain by inflicting it on others, feeling justified because of being victimized by others. Persecutors keep their vulnerability well hidden and see things in terms of weakness and strength, having contempt for what they perceive as weak in others. They will often move into the victim position in response to being challenged and held responsible for their behavior. Rescuer or helper. The rescuer connects their self-worth to being needed and taking care of others. They overfunction, taking on things they perceive as helpful to their partner or that they think their partner needs to be happy. They have come to believe that their own desires are injurious to others and quickly deny them. They want to avoid conflict at all costs and are governed by guilt whenever there is any possibility that they could be responsible for hurting anyone. Some rescuers charge into situations where they perceive they are needed, taking on people as projects. They are also motivated by the fear that others will think badly of them. They carry shame about their own suffering or needs, striving to maintain a picture of themselves as in control and capable. The drama triangle 5. The rescuer is very focused on others and becomes very adept at anticipating disaster. They can rescue by managing and organizing others, catering to others' emotional needs, and attempting to provide whatever is requested, denying their own experience to protect others, saying what they think others want to hear, explaining their partner's behavior to others, and apologizing for them, taking responsibility for others, and attempting to take away someone's suffering by finding solutions for them. Through these actions, the rescuer communicates a sense of themselves as capable and the other as incapable. The rescuer tends to be self-sacrificing in the hopes of a return of love from their partner they have tirelessly taken care of. At their core, they do not believe they are lovable and attempt to elicit love by doing for others. In this way, they are driven by perfectionism, believing that the only way to receive love is by being perfect. The rescuer will periodically fall into a pit of despair when everything falls apart and all their efforts have been to no avail. They end up feeling helpless and try to compensate by controlling more, which often takes them into the persecutor position. From here, they will become superior and contentious towards the victim when their efforts are not appreciated. The drama triangle 6. They can also move into the victim position, feeling used and abused. People who take up this position tend to see themselves in a one-up position, seeing others as helpless and hopeless and in need of their help. The rescuer discounts both the persecutor and the victim as not okay. Rescuers always become victims, victims become persecutors, and persecutors become victims. The victim and the rescuer will move into the persecutor position as an escalation of their attempts to control. The victim will persecute with blame and guilt by torturing others with responsibility for their pain and not being good enough to make them feel better. The rescuer will persecute others with their self-sacrifice and resentment that they are not appreciated for what they have done for them. The rescuer will often express their hostility in a passive-aggressive way, because their need to be thought well of predominate. The rescuer and victim will react to each other in a never-ending spiral that escalates into increasing resentment and hatred. In some relationships, this cycle becomes abusive, with both moving back and forth into the persecutor position. The roles keep changing until someone decides to opt out of the game. The drama triangle. 7. Drama triangle. Persecutor, rescuer, victim. How do we get into this? Mostly, we will have learned these roles from our parents, and they are reinforced by the soap operas and films we watch. In years gone by, we live in a hierarchical, patriarchal society, which was based on men, women, white, black, etc. being considered superior and inferior. Men tended to dominate women, and women took up the role of long-suffering martyrs. Fortunately, we live in a more enlightened times, and relationships are now based on equality. Unfortunately, at an unconscious level, we continue to operate on the constructs we look on from our parents when we were children. Games provide a pseudo-satisfaction for the human needs of recognition, appreciation, and achievement. When these needs are difficult to satisfy directly, games are played, as these provide a stop for the pain of isolation and inertia. The drama triangle 8. The pull and tug of feelings, the effervescence of complaining and scolding, the drawn of should-nots, the thrill of anger, and the smart power in getting others to fight over trivial details, all coalesce into the stream of daily life. The real trouble starts when the games go to second and third degree levels, involving social failures, slip-ups that rebound into family disasters, damage to the body, and the breakdown of relationships. The third degree of games involve a permanent damage and a loss of reputation. We have examples of third-degree games when the neighborhood can hear the screams and shouts coming through the windows at night, when lawyers and courtrooms take over the destiny of a marriage, when repeated accidents result in disabilities. What are the consequences? When you are caught in this cycle, it is not possible to develop deep intimacy, and both partners feel powerless. Both the rescuer and persecutor project weakness outward, and the victim projects their aggression and responsibility outward. In this way, they maintain an incomplete sense of self through disowning these parts of themselves. There is a focus on others as responsible for your happiness, and a belief that you can have control over things, feelings, and actions. The drama triangle 9. You may at your core carry the belief that you are responsible for others' feelings and therefore can control them. The victim does this by being helpless, the rescuer by being accommodating, and the persecutor by intimidating. As you operate from these positions in relationships, you maintain a lack of connection to an authentic self by living your life through others. In this dynamic, partners are viewed as unequal. Games such as "If you weren't the terrible person you really are, then our marriage could have had some hope," puts all the blame on the spouse, as this statement often includes the demand that the accused spouse should change at once. The relationship gets locked in a stalemate, impaled on stifling frustrations and a daily repetition of the same in different forms. Blaming in such a case serves to cover up your own inadequacy and entrenches a negative attitude that puts the onus of transformation on another. It fosters an uncompromising stance and justifies the belittling of the other, the denial of the other's achievements, and a refusal to acknowledge the other's needs. The drama triangle 10. The game If It Weren't For You, also called IWFY, is seen as the most common blaming game. Surjit had been an ardent golfer, but since his marriage to Supriya, he hardly had any time for golfing, and often said to his friends, "Sorry, I can't come. If it weren't for my wife, I would. She's jealous of my playing. She just won't help me get ready on time." 1 week Supriya made a special effort to encourage Surjit to play golf and even presented him with new golf balls from Australia. It was then that Sergey confessed that he didn't really like playing and that he usually ended up feeling unhappy after a game because he wasn't a good player. He had to stop playing IWFY and confront his own feelings of inadequacy. How do you get out of the triangle? To get out of the triangle, you need to be ready to grow up, become more self-aware, and take responsibility for your life. Instead of blaming and complaining, people need to get clear about what they want and practice making grown-up adult-to-adult requests. And where there is a conflict, learn to negotiate and reach win-win solutions. Anytime you are feeling uncomfortable in a relationship, consider if you may be playing one of the three roles. The Drama Triangle 11. Reflect on how your situation may be playing out what you learned from your same-sex parent. This may have been overt or covert, so think carefully. There are a few simple questions that open the door to a profound awareness. Sit in a quiet place and make a note of the answers to the following. What happens over and over again so that you end up feeling? Name the emotion or feeling. Who are the persons involved? How does it all start? What happens next? And then? How does it all end? What is everyone feeling? What is everyone doing? Now look for the events in your life that seem to repeat themselves with different people and at different times in the most unexpected ways. By taking an honest look at the pattern, you will see your own provocation, blindness, neglect, or ignorance, because of which you end up in a negative situation. While clarifying the emotional and thought contents of a situation, the spirit inner strength and release your potential. The aim is to empower you with options for changing behavior, thoughts, and feelings. Ask yourself what good feelings you wish to cultivate instead of the negatives you ended up with in your game. The Drama Triangle 12. Then take a decision to feel this feeling and imagine you will feel them as soon as you start a particular interaction that usually ends up badly. Decide what you will do differently. Decide what you will stop saying and what you will say instead. Compose your own life contract in words such as I will be happy. I will not hurt myself or anyone else. I will not go out of control and I will seek the help I need. I will be aware of my feelings and express them safely. Another helpful strategy is to identify your fears. These interactions are driven by fears. Identify when you feel fear or guilt. Create some space before acting on it to calm yourself and reflect on what you really feel or desire in the situation. By slowing yourself down, you can often identify what is triggering in the guilt or fear and what decision you are making in response. Do something different to break the habit. Counseling may also assist. When we get stuck in dynamics, we have a certain way of seeing things that has developed from our life experiences and can be very difficult to change. We tend to continue to see things from this perspective partly because we are so good at fooling ourselves and not looking at things we don't want to deal with. The drama triangle 13. Each of these positions has an investment in staying caught up in it. We change in part because we are frustrated and because we are challenged usually by others to see things differently. A good therapist will focus you on the things that you are not as willing to look at by yourself and support you to face your fears. Once you gain this awareness and rectify your behavior towards the other players, the game is over. However, because there is an unspoken agreement to play out these roles, the other players will attempt to draw you back into the game, mainly because of their conditioning. In couple relationships, both parties need to make how they both play out the roles of the triangle a matter for serious discussion, not to play fault or blame, but rather to accept responsibility for their own contribution to the relationship difficulties. Both parties need to understand that they have a choice. A prosecutor can't force you to be a victim, even though it can seem that way. The only way to win is not to play the game. Healthy people or healthier people start to sense this game in others who are not so self-aware or who want to play the game, and they move away. The drama triangle 14. While you are recovering from having once been in the triangle, you may get sucked in for a time and then you start to feel angry or run for your life. The healthy adult version of the drama triangle is the winner's triangle. Winner's triangle: assertive, caring, vulnerable. The roles of the drama triangle each have their equivalent role in the winner's triangle. Each of the three roles in the winner's triangle is an okay role and requires the development of a different set of skills. See table below. The drama triangle 15. Drama triangle role. Winner triangle role. Skills to be developed. Victim. Vulnerable. Problem solving. Rescuer. Caring. Listening and empathy. Persecutor. Assertiveness. Any technique that the vulnerable person can use to get themselves thinking about options and consequences is valuable. In the caring role, the development of listening skills that involve empathizing with the vulnerable person is required. Listening is frequently the only caring response needed. Assertiveness is about getting your needs met without pushing. Self-awareness is essential in all three roles. The drama triangle 16. Sources. Scripts People Live by Claude Steiner. Born to Win by Muriel James and Dorothy Jonkerweg. Dutch. Script Drama Analysis. Website. Delice Redgut MA RCC. Website. Grace Chatting. Your boss is not your mother. Breaking free from emotional politics to achieve independence and success at work by Brian Desroches. The drama triangle 17. Summary. The drama triangle by Steve Gutman with comments by Patty E. Fleener. Description. The roles of persecutor, rescuer, and victim are lived out in psychological games that become habits. Serves as a training ground for powerless. Prevents psychological equality in relationships. Will go on as long as someone is willing to be victimized. Think, if you will, about a triangle. On each end are roles that we play in life. One is the persecutor, another is the victim, and the last is the rescuer. If anyone in this triangle changes role, the other two roles change as well. The drama triangle 18. Persecutor. It is all your fault. Set strict limits unnecessarily. Blames, criticizes, keep victim oppressed, is mobilized by anger, rigid, authoritative stance, critical parent. To get off this triangle, move to clear boundaries and assertiveness. Victim. Poor me. Feels victimized, oppressed, helpless, hopeless, powerless, ashamed. Look for a rescuer that will perpetuate their negative feelings. If stays in victim position, will block self from making decisions, solving problems, pleasure and self-understanding. Dejected stance. To get off this triangle, move to problem solving. Rescuer. Let me help you. Rescues when really doesn't want to. Feels guilty if doesn't rescue. Keeps victim dependent. Gives permission to fail. Expects to fail in rescue attempts. Marshmallow parent. The Drama Triangle 19. To get off this triangle, move to empathy, empowerment, and nurturing. The Drama Triangle for unhealthy, difficult relationship where each person is trying to feel better at another's expense. Drama Triangle. Persecutor, rescuer, victim. The healthy, adult version of the Drama Triangle is the winner's triangle. Everyone in this triangle is equal and empowered to take responsibility. Persecutor changes to clear boundaries and assertiveness. Victim moves to problem solving. Rescuer moves to empathy, empowerment and nurturing. Winner's triangle. Assertive, caring, vulnerable.